crowding in together as, can you feel the germs going into each other and out of each other? You know, COVID's still going on, and here we are. Cases of RSV are skyrocketing. This is a respiratory virus, not a CBS police show. And the flu is hitting hard. The McRib is back. Everything, we'll be lucky to make it to Christmas. President Biden got his updated booster shot today. He rolled up his sleeve to show America that his werewolf arms are ready for Halloween. Very hairy guy. According to the CDC, only about 8.5% of Americans have received the most up-to-date booster shot, which is, I remember 2 years ago we were scrambling for vaccine appointments like Billy Zane trying to get on a lifeboat at the end of Titanic. Now it's like they're asking us to help move a sofa up 8 flights of stairs. Hey, speaking of viruses, Donald Trump has a new, you know that guy, right? Has a new box set. We finally got a Trump tell-all told by Donald Trump himself. Bob Woodward of the Washington Post released audio from 20 interviews he conducted with Trump, one from before he was president, the other 19 done in Trump's final year. This is more than 11 hours of conversation. According to Woodward, Trump would call him randomly at unexpected hours to talk while he was president, because there's nothing he likes doing more than talking about himself. It's his version of phone sex. It's so interesting to listen to, though. Trump talks about, one of the things he talks about is explaining COVID to his son, Barron, who was 13 at the time. He told Barron he wished he'd known about COVID 2 months earlier so he could have stopped it, which is also what he told Ivana about Don Jr. And by the way, he did know about it 2 months earlier, but this is crazy. He asked Bob Woodward, the guy interviewing him, to tell him what to do about the pandemic.
I appreciate your time.
Give me the list of the things you said. Go. Did you write them down or not?
Yes, I wrote them all down.
Give me the list of those things. I'm going to talk
about... what I'll do is send them to Jared, or you want me to...
Read them out. Go ahead, read them.
Okay, the first is testing. Number 2, the medical supply chain has to be made as perfect as it can be.
Let's move it along.
Number 5, shelter in place. Next is the vaccine antibody czar, somebody who's in charge.
Vaccines, I got it. I got people in charge. Go ahead.
Next is China.
Can you imagine that this happened? This is... I mean, I can't even believe. Trump also told Woodward he was hesitant to release a plan for the pandemic for fear it might not be politically beneficial, why did Grandma die? Well, because the president has a super cool bring me a Diet Coke button on his desk, and he didn't want to lose that. One of the interviews was from 2016 when Trump was a candidate. He was asked whether he would act more presidential if he got elected president, and this was his almost unbelievable response.
I'm just struck by, we're asking the questions about, quote, being presidential. So many other people have asked, can Trump pivot? Can he shift to a different kind of tone? And correct me if I'm wrong, but my view, listening to you, is that you actually don't really have that much interest in changing too much.
Not yet.
But it seems your natural inclination is to fight.
Yes, always to fight. My natural inclination is to win. And after I win, I will be so presidential that you won't even recognize me.
When
You'll be falling asleep. You'll be so bored.
Yeah, so that's how I would describe the years 2016 through 2020, a real boring snooze fest. It's kind of amazing in that he was right about almost nothing he said.
How do you speak to those people who think you don't want them in this country?
I
I
am a person that's going to bring this country together. I'm a person that is going to unify the country. President Obama is a divider. He is not a unifier.
And instead of a unifier, Trump turned out to be a dumpster fire. And I'll tell you, one thing listening through these tapes, he really has a bug up his ass about Obama.
I don't think Obama's smart. See, I think he's highly overrated. And I don't think he's a great speaker. He's so, hey, look, I went to the best schools. I did great. I had an uncle who was a professor at MIT for 40 years, one of the most respected in the history of the school. For 40 years, my father's brother. And my father was smarter than he was. It's good stock. They talk about the elite. Really, the elite? They have nice houses? No. I have much better than them. I better everything than them.
Oh, my God, right. Well, yeah, everyone knows the size of your house is determined by how smart your uncle was, right? I mean, is that not the saddest thing you ever... If he wasn't such a creep, you'd almost feel sorry for him, almost. And, of course, Trump, who has the best instincts, the best everything, the smartest uncle, lashed out at Bob Woodward on his floundering social media platform today. He wrote, as he fully understands, Bob Woodward never got my permission to release tapes. Those tapes were allowed only for purposes of making sure that he got my quotes and statements correct for the written word. In other words, for his nevertheless highly inaccurate book. The tapes are much better than the book. At least if they were not, at least they're bludgeoned to death by him to make me look as bad as possible. But he and his publisher had no right to use my voice or that. Right, it's all Bob Woodward's fault. Why are you agreeing to do 20 interviews on tape with the guy who took down Richard Nixon with tapes? With tapes. This is... The emperor has no brain. In Florida last night, they had a gubernatorial debate between the Democrat, Charlie Crist, and the Republican, the guy who could trip up Trump in 2024, Ron DeSantis. Crist asked DeSantis a simple question, one that Ron either couldn't or wouldn't address.
You talk about Joe Biden a lot. I understand. You think you're going to be running against him. I can see how you might get confused. But you're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
Maybe if I stand perfectly still, they won't be able to see me? He's either running for president or he just had an accident in his pants. I don't know, but... Kanye West had another bad day. You know how Kanye said he could say anti-Semitic stuff and Adidas cannot drop him? Well, today, Adidas dropped him. Adidas this morning ended their very successful partnership with Ye, which is terrible news for people who love shoes that look like severed alien feet. No one wants to work with Kanye. Even New Balance thinks he's unbalanced. The only shoe company left for Kanye to go is Hush Puppies, who today unveiled their new Hush Yeezys. Kanye's now been dropped by Adidas, Vogue, Balenciaga, The Gap, his agent, his lawyer, and Kim Kardashian. But he already has his next big venture lined up. He's planning to buy the conservative social media platform Parler, which is, it's called Parler because the number of users they have can fit into one. And this tells you all you need to know about Parler. When the story broke last week that Kanye wanted to buy them, Parler sent an email to their VIP members that exposed everyone's personal email address, which is the kind of mistake that happens when your website is run by a group of racist grandpas. I'm interested to see how this will pan out for Parler. I mean, you really don't want Kanye West to acquire you. It's sort of like when Godzilla acquires Tokyo. And the truth is, the right wing has a lot of different sites to post on besides Parler already. There's Truth Social, there's Gab, there's Getter, there's Hater, there's Liar, Active Shooter, Sore Loser. There's a million. There have never been more places to go to complain you're being silenced than there are right now. Meanwhile, Halloween is less than a week away, and Herschel Walker is worried about it.
You know, Halloween is right around the corner. And now the people of China and Mexico are dressing fentanyl up to look like candy. So I want you to be very vigilant when you're taking your kids on Halloween, because there's a new war in town, and that war is China.
Yes, what? I mean, huh? A very compelling statement about Mexico and China from a man who couldn't locate Mexico or China on a map of only Mexico and China. Halloween is a scary time for Herschel Walker because when kids show up at his house, he's not sure if they want candy or child support. Herschel Walker is not the only person or first person to float this theory about drugs being hidden in children's trick-or-treat bags. I mean, who can forget the classic scene from It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown?
I got 5 pieces of candy. I got a chocolate bar. I got a quarter.
I got a rock of crack cocaine.
Charlie may have been a blockhead, but he was not a crackhead. This is the new right-wing scare story right now. Mexico sneaking fentanyl into candy bars. And, you know, I looked up the effects of fentanyl on the DEA website. They include sedation, drowsiness, dizziness, and confusion, which sounds a lot like Herschel Walker to me. And of course he's worried about the children of America. Half of them are his. He gave quite a speech at a rally full of no one yesterday. He even set a new world record for the most times a human used the word pronouns in a 30-second span.
We got people in Washington that had forgot about it. Now they're talking about pronouns, bringing pronouns into our military. Pronouns? What the heck is a pronoun? My pronoun's sick and tired of y'all talking about pronouns. What I want you to do is make our men and women strong again. The way you make them strong is forgetting about talking about pronouns. Because I can tell you this, Iran, Russia, and China are not talking about pronouns. How do you identify? And they're not talking about trying to charge a tank in the desert either. They're talking about war, and we're over here talking about charging a tank in the desert. There's an electricity tank. That won't work.
You know, if it weren't for the podium, he would just be a crazy person ranting in a parking lot, right? You'd walk by, you go, oh, okay, I'm gonna get in my car. But despite running one of the worst campaigns in maybe the history of the Senate, Republicans have rallied around Herschel Walker. He's got Trump's blessing bigly, and today he picked up a key endorsement from none other than the My Pillow man, Mike Lindell.
Hello there, it's me, Mike Pillow Lindell, 4-time Mount Minnetonka Drug Treatment Center's crack addict in a month. That's my crack plaque. The great state of Georgia needs leaders who've been hit in the head a lot, and that's why I'm endorsing Herschel Walker for senator. Herschel and me got common values. We both know the presidency was stolen from Donald J. Trump. We both keep big pictures of Jesus in our living rooms. And we both sustained multiple traumatic head injuries. That's how come raccoon, mushroom head, basketball. Ah, come on, brain. Let's get through this. Herman Waldo is pro-life. He's so pro-life, he'll put a baby in anybody. He's got hundreds of them, and a Heisman Trophy to boot. The other thing, Hercules is tough on the environment. He says we got too many trees. Good point. One time I climbed all the way up to fill my honey pot, and a whole mess of hornets stung me in the eye holes. I fell 52 feet, and when I landed, I was so blind, I thought I was a prostitute named Carol for 8 months. So vote for Hershey's Walnut this November. He'll protect our babies from getting abortions and keep trees where they belong, out of our schools.
Paid for by the Minnesota Chamber of Mentally Ill Betting Manufacturers.
Got it in tape.
I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this one.